You're young, so I'm not going to
Same
what
thing
you
in
would
class.
school in
Yeah.
class, yeah. Okay, so I did a storyline project, and that's something that we went over with Dr. Maurer in class. And it originated in Scotland, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not really going to go over what it is exactly. I gave you that handout, and it kind of explains what it is and how they used it. But so we used it with habitats, and one of our standards for second grade is how living things can change an environment. So I decided to do the storyline part with the habitats. And so we first started out just talking about habitats and what they are. We read a book, A House is a House for Me, so it kind of explained habitats. And so then we talked about our habitat, and then we actually took a walk outside, and we looked at all the things outside, went by the river, and made a list of things that we saw that were in the habitat. And then we created one. So this is our first.
Would it help with the
That light
lights
on.
out?
Yeah.
Just like getting that light, thanks. Oh, that looks much
Okay,
better.
so this one is our first habitat. So I created the river as like the centerpiece, and then all the students created like the houses and the trees and all that stuff. So I split them up into 3 groups, so we had the table set up like this. And one group had animals, one group had trees and buildings, and then one group had like ground things like leaves and sticks and stuff like that. So this was our first one, and then for our first lesson, we did pollution, and so we polluted the water. So we put trash and stuff in the water and polluted it, and you know how those plastic things that hold like cans and stuff. So we put that like around the animals and stuff just to kind of make it more realistic. And so we talked about pollution, and we read.
Kathy provided all the pollution.
I hate you. Right after Halloween. And I'm like, there's something wrong with this.
But we.
Payback.
You did.
Yeah.
You can go skip road then. So we read the Berenstain Bears Don't Pollute Anymore, and talked about pollution, and that was more, it was water pollution, but it was also air pollution, and then it kind of led into our next one about cutting down trees. So we actually, they looked at the environment, and then they observed what they saw, and so they wrote down 2 observations. And then they decided how they were going to fix the problem or provide a solution. So I actually made science journals, and so the front page is the environment, how it originally was, and then when they go to the next one, they write down their 2 observations, and then they draw a picture of how they fixed it. So I can pass this around.
Look at that picture.
So we did the journal, and then eventually we cleaned out the water, so the pollution was gone. And then for our next lesson, we needed more trees. Oh, so that was okay. Well, we needed more trees. I don't know where that one picture is. And so it kind of looked like this before we had the lesson, and this was the deforestation lesson. So we cut down all the trees, and they were not very happy about that because they made all the trees, so they were
Now,
kind of
Kaylee,
upset.
did you have those trees cut down before they came in, or the kids cut them down?
I cut them down.
So when they came in, then the trees were gone.
Yeah, so when they went to recess, because we did the lesson in the afternoon, they went to lunch recess, and then while they were at recess, I cut down all the trees and took them all off, which was a very long process. And then they came in and all the trees were gone and they didn't know what happened. But some of them had stumps left and things, so it looked like they were cut down.
That's great.
And so we had the lesson about deforestation, and we read the book The Lorax. So, and they all really liked that because they were really familiar with that. And then we talked about, and you can see there's another journal entry within the science journals, how they would fix the problem and like what they saw. So one of the solutions I never even thought of was to create a club to save the earth. So I thought that was like really cool, and they came up with really good ideas. So that was the deforestation one. Okay, so this is when they added the trees before we cut them down. And then this is when they're cut down. And so this is how it ended up. I put the trees back up. the next day, and then they talked about how they could plant seeds to have more trees and stuff like that. But once I put them up, they were angry that they weren't all in the same spot. So they noticed. But I thought it was a really good lesson. They really liked it, and it was a good way to get them interacting because they created the whole thing. And they really
Plus, it
enjoyed
was
it.
so cool looking. We were admiring it
Yeah.
every day, not knowing what was behind it.
Yeah.
That's such a neat looking.
Yeah, they added a lot of things, and they really liked it. So I think I'm going to plan on using this kind of thing next semester when I'm student teaching, but I don't really know how yet, but something different.
Well, and I do know, when they came in, I mean, they knew where their tree was, they knew, and that's why I could see why they were angry, because when they came in, they were all at Twitter. Oh, they're making different, whatever. And so they really were excited, and that's why I could see, like, you moving them, my golly.
Well, I texted her the night before, I said they're going to be devastated.
Yeah. And they were really
You
upset.
just tell.
But what an impact.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. And they put a lot of detail into it too. Like this one has a bird in a nest, like in a tree. So they really liked the project and did really well with it. In Harmer School, I think this one's Harmer.
You're not gonna take that down, right? We like to come in and see that.
I mean, I'll take it down eventually. But yeah. So does anyone have any questions?
I was reading one in here, and Cheryl will be glad to know, they used a Lego vehicle. They created a Lego vehicle to go around the terrain in Iceland. So, I mean, what a cool concept of making it real for them. I really like that.
And so we started off even, like, my idea originally was to create out of, like, salt dough or something the actual habitat, because I thought that would be more realistic, but it was really difficult to decide who was going to make what, how many we were going to make, and all this stuff. And I talked to the art teacher, too, about the project and if she had any ideas. And so we talked about background and foreground, and then she said we could use any supplies that she had and stuff like that.
It's a great visual, and the bulletin board part of it, and I just think, I love the interactive aspect of it, changing it and repairing it, so cool.
And taking ownership of their work, you
Yeah,
know?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's that OTES thing.
Yeah.
And problem solving.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of
Critical thinking.
Well,
Yeah.
and for them to be able to talk about it. Yeah, we had a few little struggles, but, and some of the people that, just watching them work in a group, it was, yeah.
You could take the Michael Jackson song, Heal the World, and just save the world.
You can choose sing it.
You wanna sing it?
Yeah, you
got a
go.
mic.
Here.
And we can get our selfies out.
Let's
There's a nice, if I can just interject for a
No, you're
second, Kaylee. There's a nice example in here, and I think it's kindergarten, where they've created like a village or a town. And they, again, have ownership of it, and they're so proud. And then they come in one day, and there's been a flood or something. So their homes are down and everything. And they have to problem solve. You know, what would they do? Okay, they're gonna move the animals on the farm up to higher ground, first of all. And they're gonna create a water sucking machine, right, to take the water out. And then they're gonna do something with that water, because they're gonna recycle it. So it's constant problem solving, and it really is critical thinking.
And it's developing empathy too.
Exactly.
For people who actually are going through this, which you can tell, you can even read a book about it, and it's not gonna make, but when something of theirs is destroyed, then that gives them an idea of what it's really like.
And it really starts with that essential question, and we were talking about that in curriculum mapping yesterday. What do you really want your students to know? So it's like, what do you really want them to grasp from this? So you kind of start with that question, and then you build from that. And then you as the teacher, you don't plan it out exactly, because it goes where the kids take it. So it's like, you decide, oh, I'm going to take this down and tear that up. And then they decide where that's going to go. They do the problem solving and you know, the ideas, and they'll amaze you with what they'll come up with. So it's really a nice method. It's out of Scotland. They're using it in like all the Scandinavian countries and everything. It's pretty popular. There were some trainers that went out to Oregon, so you can go for training out in Oregon. It's a week long. I tried to get them to come here, but we just couldn't afford a week long of everybody for training. I think there were some schools up in around Cleveland that actually did some storyline training, but it's kind of hard to get the training here. But she did a nice job with us just talking about it and everything. It's a nice part.
that back in the late 60s, early 70s, when we were having to write all of our own social studies science units, it was draw from literature, draw from music, draw from art, and put it all together. We didn't have near the amount of resources we have today. But so tying in the music link is really a good thing too. And I was thinking, the next, if the music had gone with that, and some of our kids relate so well to music, every time they hear that song, it's going to be a sensory reminder of everything that was in your unit.
Well, and I think this project is a good project to pull in the special teachers
Yes.
as collaboration, because
Yes.
sometimes we don't have that opportunity to really